Religion and the news.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News. Jerry O'Lennon here, along with Pastor Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship. We're based out of Chico, California. If you are watching our podcast, if you're in Chico, you already know that we're in Chico because that's where we're at.
Go Chico.
Glad you could be with us. We forgot to mention, Friday last week, it slipped my mind. I'm kind of embarrassed to say it was the 6th anniversary of the Camp Fire.
Yeah.
Now, you might not be aware of this. This was the most devastating fire in the history of California. 85 people were killed. An entire town of Paradise and other areas wiped out. It was unbelievable. At the time, President Trump came up here to visit the place. I mean, it got that much attention. It was a very, very big deal, very catastrophic. Pastor Alfredo was one of those among thousands who were affected. You lost, your family lost a couple of homes.
Yeah.
You lost everything. And explain, that was 6 years ago. The pain never goes away, does it?
No. You can move on forward, but that sick feeling never kind of leaves you.
Right.
So it was November 8th, 2018, and basically my whole family had moved out of Hawaii, and slowly we were descending upon paradise, from paradise to paradise. So I had me and, of course, my family, my mom, dad, and then my sister had a home there. My daughter and her husband and their baby had a home, and then my niece. And then my other sister was moving out here that January. So we lost altogether, we lost 5 homes.
Right. I was a television reporter at the time here in Chico and covered the story for basically 2.5 years, 3 years. And there were so many stories to cover. People would come up and they'd tell you, because sometimes as a news reporter, you're always looking for good stories.
Yeah.
There were so many to choose. There were so many people that lives were destroyed. And you tried to find in every aspect of people's lives were affected.
Yeah.
There was, for example, a land rush where people couldn't get a home. And so people would try to come down from Paradise down to Chico, which is about a 15-mile journey to find a home to live in. And so prices started skyrocketing.
Oh yeah, we try to find a place, just to rent,
Right.
and no, the insurance. Well, we lived with my daughter. One of my daughters lives in Chico. We lived with her for probably 3-4 weeks, and then the insurance company put us in the hotel across the street from Walmart,
Wow.
and we were there for a few months, and then we finally found a rental here in Chico, and we were blessed, incredibly fortunate to find a home because a lot of my family members, my sister got placed in Redding. We had other members placed in Roseville because you couldn't find a local place.
From a Christian standpoint, several churches were destroyed.
Yeah.
However, those that did survive, are going and are continuing. And I mean surviving. Many of them didn't survive because they lost so many members.
Yeah.
People didn't go back up there, and the population has. I think it's gradually going back up a little bit, but I'm not certain it's going up as quick a pace as they would hope it would.
Yeah.
But it's not the same when you go up there. I don't know when the last time I was up to Paradise, maybe about 3 months ago, and it just doesn't have the same feel to it. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer and say, I don't think it's ever going to get back to the beauty that it once was. You have to remember, this was like, it wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like Lake Tahoe, but there were beautiful trees, and it was just had this clean, fresh air. And now all those trees are gone. They're
Yeah.
gone. It's empty, bare land, B-A-R-E, and it's so depressing going up there.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
when I say that, here I am in town locally, and there might be people listening saying, "How dare you say it that our area is depressing to go to?" Well, it's depressing when you think about what was once there 6 years ago to what is there now. It is depressing. It is depressing because that's what a fire can do when it could just destroy lives and destroy land.
Yeah, I was up there yesterday, believe it or not.
You
And-
were.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What was it like?
Well, you don't recognize it. You don't. We were there for 25 years, and when you drive through Paradise, for a while you don't know where you're at. The landmarks are gone, the houses you remember, the corner stores, the church, the whatever. I mean, all the areas, like you're looking for the street to turn on, and you don't remember there's no landmarks, right? So I was I'm following GPS because I don't remember exactly where I was. We were looking at a house up there, and with my son-in-law and my daughter. But you're right. God bless everybody that's moving up there. I applaud the efforts to make Paradise, a better place now, but it will never be what it was.
Yeah, and I know when you say that to people, like right after it happened, even a year later, I remember being on this show and saying to people, "It's never going to be like that again." And the people would get kind of upset with
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
They'd be like,
yeah.
"Of course it's going to be. Within 10 years' time, we're going to be back to where we once were. It's not. It's not going to be anywhere near 10 years, 20 years. It's never going to be the same." And of course, it's easy to say because who's going to hold me accountable for saying it because I'll be dead by then. But the reality is that I can't see it ever getting to the way it was once before.
No, matter of fact, I just saw on the news they said that before the fire, just in Paradise, not McGaley and the surrounding, but it's like 28,000 people, and right now there's a little over 10,000, and like 600 homes have been built, and that's great. I applaud that. That's awesome. But the home that I had, we were there for 25 years, and my wife had been there at another 10. Her parents moved up there in 76,
Hmm.
77, and so they were there for what, 40, 50 years.
Well, the one thing they have going for it is that there is land. That's good.
Yeah.
And housing prices. They're depending on where they're fluctuating at. If they're going up or they're going down, people are always going to need housing, and maybe they could build some houses out there that would attract people and make it kind of a bedroom community where people just go there to live. Then they drive down to Chico or go to Oroville or go to certain areas around the town that were not around Butte County that were not affected by the fire, and just be placed for people to live and have just a few small businesses there. That could be what the future is going to be like.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being too negative. Maybe it'll be a different type of paradise. It won't be what it once was.
No, I think it'll be a nice town, but the feel of it's gone. And the problem is for somebody that's never ever lived there before,
Hmm.
they can go up there and they can see, oh, it's got potential. But for the people that were there and actually lost their homes, I'll also just speak for me. It is. I have my faith, so I know I'm not to be depressed,
Hmm.
but it is still heartbreaking.
Well, talk about that. It's okay to be sad. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is.
to lose everything the way you did, and
Yeah.
people lost lives, people lost businesses, they lost memories, and
They
we're gonna
lost
we're gonna
family.
talk about that in the second segment with you because you lost some very valuable memories which you got back, and we're gonna talk about that in the second segment with Pastor Alfredo Romero. Just to give you a little heads up, a little tease, what we call, is that you lost a lot of sports memorabilia. You're a huge Los Angeles Lakers fan.
Yeah, yeah.
And during the course of you notified or somebody in your family notified the Lakers that all of your sports memorabilia
Yeah.
was gone. In fact, let's talk about that now. You lost name some of the things that you lost from the fire that got burned.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I collected them, but I lost what would you would say would be a sports huge, vast collection. I lost 4 autographed jerseys by Kobe Bryant. I had basketballs by generations: Will Chamberlain, Jerry West, LeBron James, 2 Michael Jordans. I had a basketball that was signed by both Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Okay.
I had Magic Johnson jerseys, and that wasn't just jerseys. It was also sports cards and books, and
Now the pictures we're showing now as we're talking on our podcast, those are pictures of the ones that were lost, or those are the ones that were provided to
they
you?
were all lost. No, I probably lost $225,000 worth of memorabilia.
So the pictures we're looking at now are
They're
what you
gone.
once had.
Those are gone. Yeah, every single one of those is gone. There was I can tell you more detail later about how we got out of the house, but the fire was coming and we had to get out. So you don't think about grabbing things. And I probably could have grabbed this and this and that, and but no, it doesn't work that way. You get kicked into the, we're gonna die. We have to leave now, and you grab nothing. You just run out the door.
Okay. Yes.
So yeah, we lost. Of course, we lost our jewelry and our pictures and our photos and all the videos of my family ever since we were young and my children, and we lost everything. So the sports collection was just something that meant a lot to me because there was a connection with my father.
Yeah.
If you want me, I'll just take a real quick close. The reason why I even got into it was because my mom and dad divorced when I was a kid. I was like 4 years old. My dad was never really around. When he started coming around, because he was a traveling musician, I was about 10 years old. And the way he wanted to bond with me, he took me to a Los Angeles Laker game at the LA Forum.
Right. So special memories.
Yeah, it was a huge,
Well,
that's bonded me and my dad. So we all collected things because it was our bond.
well, let's get to the end of the story.
Sure.
I guess I don't want to say a happy ending, but sort of a happy ending. So somehow the Lakers find out about this, and what do? First of all, how did the Lakers? We have 2 minutes in this segment. How did the Lakers find out about this?
My wife had a fall off her scooter, and on her downtime in the hospital, she wanted to make me happy, so she started contacting every contact she could find on the internet: Lakers office, players, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. At the time, Byron Scott. Byron Scott's manager is the one that replied to her, said, "Hey, I'm really sorry to hear about your husband's loss. Let me contact the Laker office to see what I can do." So my wife calls me to the hospital. She says, "Hey, I got this box for you." I look at the box and it says Los Angeles Lakers, El Segundo, California, which is one of their
Right.
offices. And I open it up and there's this letter saying, "Thanks for being a fan." And there's probably 20 items of memorabilia, from jerseys, basketballs, games, little tchotchkes and things, little bobbleheads of Kobe Bryant. So obviously I was like, that was amazing that
That
you
is
get
nice.
recognized. Yeah, the Lakers, no matter how you feel about the Lakers here in Northern California, it was a touching thing to do.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was very great. And so it did make me feel a little better. I don't have what I used to have, but it was a nice start.
Well, it's a nice thought that an organization would take the time to do that, and it was a wonderful gift by your wife.
Yeah, she
To
felt
make
bad
those
for me, and
Yeah.
I was also mourning. You mourn more than just the collection stuff, but it was just it was like a nice little Band-Aid over a large wound, but it made a huge difference. It really did.
Yeah.
I wish you would have contacted some rock stars because I lost about 300 grand worth of
Is
musical
that right?
equipment.
Is
Yeah.
that right? And did the insurance ever? I imagine those items were not insured.
No. Who thinks the whole town's gonna burn down?
Right.
You know?
What's the last? We have 30 seconds left, and it had. Has there been anything good that's come out of this terrible tragedy? Is there a burden? Is there a blessing somewhere in this burden, or is it not found yet?
God says there's a time to mourn. I think there are people that meant well that said, "Hey, at least your family is safe," and there's a lot of truth in that. But that still doesn't cancel out
No.
years of collections of my grandmother's jewelry, my great grandmother's rocking chair, and things like that.
And there were, my goodness, about 20. Your story times 25,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. We're going to continue our discussion here with Pastor Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship. You're watching a podcast known as Rebel Religion in the News. We'll be right back.
Rebel religion in the news.
Oh, welcome back. We are in Chico, California. We're going to tell you about a story taking place at Chico State University, but this thing is happening in other areas around the nation. I'll read from the story from Action News here in Chico. Chico State University President Stephen Perez is making a post-election mental health support available to the campus community. Apparently, there's a lot of students who are upset by the results of the presidential election that took place nearly a week ago. Donald Trump beating Kamala Harris to win the presidency for a second time. They're creating services and resources for some of our marginalized students. Usually those students are from communities where the policies, depending on the administration and the office, really impact them and their families. So these could be some of our undocumented students who are here illegally, some of the transgender and queer identity students, and students of color. Some of those communities following the election have a lot of fear inside of them. So what they're doing is they're having, I don't want to say, I've heard of some places around the nation where they're actually giving out milk and cookies. Here at Chico State, they have painting and coloring and respectful community conversations. What's your thoughts on this, Pastor?
Wow. Okay, my first thought is, how is that preparing? Colleges are supposed. This is my thought. Colleges are supposed to prepare the young people to make them resilient and strong and bold and educated and wise. This is going backwards to me. This is like regressing them back to a time of childhood where everything is sensitive and you cry about everything. You cry over these little tiny, it's not preparing them at all for the real world. Matter of fact, my opinion is I went through college. This is not the colleges that I attended. And it just makes people too sensitive and cry and go to your room and color because you're so upset. How's this adult? How's this
And
adult
don't
at
they
all?
know they're going to be mocked?
Yeah. Well, no.
Don't they know that there is mocking going on? And I'm trying not to do that. I do not
I
want
don't
to
want to
do
mock.
that.
No.
And no one wants to mock anybody.
No.
But this would be the type of issue where people will mock maybe in private and do an eye roll and a smirk. And it's like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
And have we gotten to the point in our society where we don't accept the fact that sometimes you lose? Sometimes people get fired from a job unjustly.
Well, I think
Sometimes people have a breakup where a guy breaks up with a girl and some sadness happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get what you want.
No, this started a generation or two ago with the participant trophies. Everybody won. They stopped keeping score in little leagues or t-ball or with the kids. They didn't want to keep score.
Right.
If everybody had to get a ribbon, everybody had to get a trophy, and there was jokes about it and mocking of it, and I can understand that because for the people of different generations, it didn't make sense to us.
I'm kind of I hear what you're saying, but I do think if there is a substantial difference between the first place trophy and the second place trophy,
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with that. And then maybe you have a third place ribbon. I'm not sure. I think that's especially if you're talking about 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds or something along those lines, because the game is designed to be fun. I hear what you're saying, and I generally agree with you for the most part.
Yeah,
You
for
have
the
you
most
have to accept the fact that the winners are going to get the rewards, and the ones who don't win are. But if you're playing for fun, that might be a different type of thing. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But now here we're talking about adults. They're 18 years old.
Yeah.
I think that qualifies as an adult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
18. You're 18 years old. You're an adult.
You can go to
And
war.
You have to, you have to accept the fact that you're not always going to win. And
Yeah.
it seems like this just plays into the cuddling hands of a college is just coddling their students and saying, you didn't win the election. Now, that's I agree that it's probably a good idea to have maybe a discussion, have people come from both sides and say, let's express your opinion. You express your opinion, express your views. But it seems like this is something that people are mocking right now.
Well, the reason why they mock it is because, like I said earlier, when the participant trophy started, it stops the teaching of some very important lessons like resilience, perseverance, the comeback that you would make, the sportsmanship, acknowledging when you lose, and the striving to be better than you were before every day. It cancels out this internal fortitude.
And the fault really goes with the parents who don't teach their kids that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to accept adversity.
Yeah.
And to battle back from adversity so that maybe you could win the next time. I do want to point out that Chico State, and I want to be fair here, because they have offered counseling services for the last 2 presidential elections, including in 2020 when Joe Biden was elected. This was because the university has seen the need for students to have a safe space. She said several students over the years have requested this sort of service. I guess.
I would have said no.
I mean, I want to be open-minded. I don't want to be one of these people that's, mocking somebody. I do understand that there are people who, I certainly understand if it's people. I don't want to go there because I'd have to really hear more from the students to hear what they say. And this particular article, we're not hearing from students. Unfortunately, this Action News reporter did not have any interviews with actual students who were getting the help. That would have been nice to include, but it's not there. So I can't really give any kind of real in-depth thoughts on it other than that it seems like you got to wonder how many students are actually utilizing these services. Kind of curious about that, too.
Yeah, well, if most of the students on these certain universities, well, let me go back to this. There's another article I was looking at similar to this. Reports that this is from, I want to be honest about this here up front. It's Christine Parks from Fox News, and she says several universities across the nation canceled classes, provided safe spaces for students to recover from the presidential election, prompted by a wave of criticism that they were not showing these schools are not showing or preparing students for the real world. Kind of what we were talking about.
Right.
They're not teaching them. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. All these old adages, and we got to persevere and get back up and pick up yourself by your bootstraps and try harder. One thing that came to my memory was this is what we're not teaching people. There was a couple of signs that went out a few years ago in kind of like in a response to a lot of these things that are going on in universities, and it said things like, this person was cut from their high school basketball team. This person barely made the 10th grade basketball team after being cut, blah, blah, blah. And this person's name was Michael Jordan. And then this other one said, this person never went past the 5th grade. This person lost the Senate race. This person lost the representative race. This person was rejected by more state. And then all of a sudden it says, this person was Abraham Lincoln.
Right. Yeah. The other point worth mentioning too is that you mentioned, at least I was thinking about the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement had a lot of losses on the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of losses. But did the civil rights movement sit and go into a corner and say, well, you know what, we need milk and cookies, and we need to take things. We're so sad, and we're going to. I'm sure they were sad. I'm sure they were disappointed, but they got back up and they continued the mission for civil rights.
Yeah, sure.
They didn't crawl into a little hole and cry and say, I need milk and cookies, and I need to do face painting, and I need to do these kinds of things. They said, we're going to get back up, and we got beaten now, but we're going to because we know we're right. We're going to do what we think is right. This is so, I don't want to say cringy, but because that's overused word, but it feels like.
It feels like we're not doing. The students don't realize that we're not helping them.
Yeah,
we're not helping them. We are not helping them at all.
When I see this, I think of the scene in The Godfather when Vito Corleone is talking to the band leader who's crying, Johnny Fontaine, because he didn't get the part in the big movie. And he's like, this Hollywood executive's not going to give me the part. You have no chance. And then Brando, Vito Corleone, takes him by the collar and smacks him and says, "You can act like a man. You can act like what's happening." And then Duvall is in the background laughing, kind of smirking. And I said, when I think of that often when I see these type of things. You can act, and by a man, I mean you can act like an adult. You can act like an adult woman. You can act like an adult man. You lost.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and cry about it. You lost. Act like a man.
Yeah.
And I think of that a lot over the last week. I think of that scene.
Yeah. One of the biggest scenes that's played constantly, even in churches, I've seen it played, was the movie Rocky, not the first one, the one Rocky Balboa, and where he's trying to make this comeback at the age of like 50, and he's talking to his son, and they're out in the street outside his restaurant, and they're talking. The son's going, "You know how hard it is to be your son. I'm trying to make a name on my own, and every time I go, people bring up your name. I'm not getting or I get promotions, or people are talking to me just because I'm your son, and you don't know how hard it is for me." And Sylvester Stallone wrote this brilliant speech. Hey, life is tough, but it's not what people make for you, it's what you make for yourself. And he's looking at him with that look, hey, it's not how many times you get hit, it's how many times you get hit and get back up and you keep pushing. And it's this great speech. And I would Google it, by the way.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It is an amazing speech. And should be played in every college and university around here.
By the way, that's Rocky Balboa, the sixth one, which doesn't have a Roman numeral off it after it's not like Rocky
1, 2, 3, 4.
V1. It's Rocky, just called Rocky Balboa. And again, as we all know, you watch the first and the second one. You third you could watch, fourth and fifth you blow off. The sixth actually pretty good.
Yeah. It was actually Rocky Balboa. Actually, was really good. Anyway, so resilience, people, resilience.
And if that doesn't work. Yeah, milk and cookies and face painting, I guess, is okay. The other alternative. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on Rebel Religion in the News. I'm Jerry O'Lennon, Alfredo Romero. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you next time, and so long.
Rebel